Hello, Mrs. Cécile Mégie. We are living hard times for people, hard times for media globally and locally in Romania. Um, what does it represent today's Radio France International in the global universe of media? And what's the place of Radio France International Romania in this equation?
So, RFI, Radio France International, is, as you know, a French public radio, part of the group France Média Monde, which included also a TV, France 24, and another radio, Arabic-speaking radio, CD Monte Carlo Doualiya. And RFI is, as a French and 16 other languages speaking radio, it's one of the big actor in the international public broadcaster, as the BBC, the Deutsche Welle, and so on. We still have a big place in this field, but we know everything is moving, everything is changing, and as you said, the hard time and info highlights are very rushed and very difficult nowadays. So our place is always to be in movement, always to see what's happening around us and in the world, and to adapt ourselves to this. And for us nowadays, the strategy is to adapt to the way the people are more or less comprehending French, for example. We're broadcasting more than 24 hours a day in French. So we are nowadays developing our African languages, for example. And one of them, we have 4 African languages in Africa, broadcasting in Africa with the French. And in Europe, for example, in Eastern Europe, here in Romania, we are developing a new project from these days. It's just born, a new project dealing with what's happening on Eastern Europe and in Ukrainian, in Ukraine, and since February, then 24th of February, and the invasion of Russia. We are now developing a project with Ukrainian journalists here in Bucharest, with CFE, which is our sister enterprise dealing with media action all over the world. And we are welcoming some Ukrainian journalists to develop an offer in Ukrainian, a digital offer in Ukrainian, and also reinforced our own offer in Russian. So this is one of our strategic project we are now, and thanks RFI Romania, because they are with RFI Romania here in Bucharest, and they are having the experience that a 32 years old radio can have. They are very welcome here with RFI Romania, and we are going to increase. Nowadays we're just on training, but we are going to increase the cooperation between the 2 radio, and one only on digital, and the oldest one, RFI Romania, in broadcast and digital.
So if I understand well, you are developing a plan to get an RFI in Ukraine, in Ukrainian. You'll broadcast in Ukrainian also?
No, it will only be on web. It will only be a digital offer. I mean, it will be on a website, which name will be RFI Ukrainian, as we have RFI Romanian or RFI Russian, RFI Vietnamese, RFI Chinese. So it will be only a digital offer with articles, videos, photos, graphics, all the formats nowadays that you can find on a website and on social medias. So this is the new offer we are going to launch in the autumn, but settled here in Bucharest with Ukrainian journalists we just welcome.
What was the point that started this new plan? How do you evaluate the impact of the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Russia in Ukraine on the media in generally speaking, and in this region especially?
This is clearly also an answer to the situation in Ukraine. And of course, we managed to develop this project very fast because the idea came, we wanted to do things here in Eastern Europe, but Central and Eastern Europe. But the thing is that, of course, the war made a big push on it, and we said it's useful and it's vital to do something for information in the war of information field. We have to do something with Ukrainian journalists. This is one point. The second point is that the war in Ukraine, of course, has increased the necessary of fact-checking, the necessary of anti-propaganda, the necessity of developing special products on what's the life in Ukraine nowadays. So RFI Romania did some testimony on this, very much a lot of testimony on this issue. We also increase our broadcast of Romanian in Chișinău on our Chișinău FM. We broadcast from March till now 13 hours a day in Romanian, exactly as you can hear it here in Bucharest. And for RFI in general, of course, we had a lot of teams and staff on the field in Ukraine with very high security level. And from the 24th of February till now, we had almost 1 to 2 teams, which means 4 people, all the time on the Ukrainian field, in Kiev, in Donbass, and in eastern Ukraine, in Lviv, all over the country, including one team coming from Moscow and going on the Russian side of this war. Because what I think is very essential nowadays is to have a balanced information. I mean, we know there is an aggression, there's no doubt about it, but we have to report on every side of this conflict to be credible and to be balanced, and that's one of our function and mission.
Okay, so you pointed very well the war on information, and how do you explain the vulnerability of media, fake news, but somehow radio broadcasters are less influenced by this fake news than TV or online media, which are rushing for audience and breaking news, everything, not fast checking every time all the information.
Yeah, you quite give the answer. I think it's taking time. We are in a rush. Even on radio, we are in a rush. But our formats, the way we built our programs, I mean, RFI Romania is not a 100% information radio. RFI in French is not 100% and 24 hours information radio. We have bulletins, we have news every hour, but we have magazine, we can take time, we can also analyze, we can give context, and that's maybe a shield that we have to not to fall, let's say, in mfox or mfox, or as we said in French, or fake news. But we are also global media. I mean, RFI has every language that speaks RFI has a website, included RFI Romania. And on the website, web first sometimes, I mean, a news can come between 2 bulletins on the broadcast. And so we have to give the news, but we have to check it before. That's the rule. I mean, before we had this world fake news, we had to check. So now we have to double check maybe. We have a lot of initiatives also in fact checking. So it's the basis, but we increase this. We have journalists which are specialized in fact checking. We also work with France 24, France 24, our sister channel. There has a program in several languages which is called The Observers, and they only fact check videos and pictures. We have a program in French which is named Les Dessous de l'Infox, which fact checked also what happens on the social media, for example. So we increase this. We also have a lot of action in media education in schools, in universities, because I think the journalist has to go out of the newsroom and to tell everybody, the public, even very young public, that information is a profession. Dealing with information is a profession. It's you have rules. It's not free, and all this, the value of the information and the debunking and the fact checking is worth being taught in schools, even with very little children, because they are using all those stuff, and they has to be aware of the risk they can be victim also of fake news.
So, for synthesizing, as you have plenty of experience in media, which will be the main three advices for the media not to get into a fake news or in a misinformation? Three.
Fact checking, fact checking, fact checking.
That's good.
Yeah, fact checking. I mean, checking all the time, and be always aware that but that's our profession. You're a journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm now a manager, but I used to be a journalist, and the basis is to fact check, and don't believe anything. Check.
Yes, that's true. We are. What about the authoritarian regimes which are swapping the democracy in the latest times? How this is affecting the freedom of expression? And what about the security of journalists which are going on the field to report and to get to check the little
facts?
Yes, facts on the field.
For our group, France Média Monde, for RFI, the security of our journalists is top priority. We're not the only one, but for us, it's a top priority. We've lost 4 journalists on the field for the 20 past years in Afghanistan, in Ivory Coast, and in Mali. And this has increased all the time, and we have security of the journalist on the top priority. That means they are trained for the security, their own security. That means we are protecting them also against cyber attack, because this is a part of the danger also today. What I can say is, of course, authoritarian regimes and less democracy in some place, but not all over the place, has to tell us to always think that anything is done for once. I mean, the right of the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the right to be informed has to be defended all over the world, all over the time. Every time, even in Europe. I mean, some countries in Europe has problem with press, and some journalists in Europe, in European countries, in European Union, has a problem with the freedom of speech. So we have to defend this. It's one of the stone of our democracies. So we have to defend it here in Europe, but all over the world too, without giving lessons. I mean, it's just protecting a journalist and saying it's a part of evolution, it's a part of development, it's a part of increasing the the freedom of your people and the well-being of their people. So please do with freedom of speech and freedom of press.